Okay, we're going to call the meeting of the Township Supervisors to order at 7 p.m. We'll wait for the April 13th. Call start by rising. All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Bruce Frack. Here. Joe Montanari Sr. Here. Carl Edwards. Here. Gary Baylor. Here. And Dale Houser. Here. Okay, any announcements, Eileen?
I have one announcement. We have two dates to consider for an executive session regarding the craft matter. Monday, the 19th, at 6:30, I believe our solicitor is available as well as the insurance company solicitor. Just seeing if that date and time would be acceptable to everyone. I know we talked about Wednesday, but that's not.
I can't make it Wednesday, but I can Monday.
If not, if that date's not, I mean, I can check for other dates as well. This is on under announcements, Bruce, I'm bringing up a separate item. It's about the craft, invitation. I don't, in other words, that's not on there. No, I'm just bringing this up.
Monday, 19th, Friday. Yeah, that's fine. Joe? Yes. Okay. You're sending out invitations, I think? Okay.
At 6:30, is it Zoom or is it in person?
6:30 in person at the Township.
At the Township?
Okay, public hearings.
None this evening, thank you, Joe.
Okay, public to be heard. Residents shall limit their comments no more than 3 minutes. Okay.
Did you get any email public comment, Eileen?
No.
I asked her if she got any email public comment because of our new format.
Oh, okay. Approval of minutes, general meetings, March 9th and 23rd, 2021.
I'll make a motion. We approve those minutes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 9th and 23rd. Any questions? If not, roll call. Bruce Frack?
Yes.
Joe Montanari?
Yes.
Carl Edwards?
Yes.
Gary Baylor?
Yes.
And Dale Houser, yes. Reports. All the reports are on file with the exception of the treasurer's reports and the paying of the bills. So we won't be reading any reports off. Unless the solicitor has anything he needs to report.
I do not have anything this evening, thank you.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report and pay the bills.
okay, we have a motion. Pay the bills. I'll second it. And we have a second by Gerald. Any questions? If not, roll call. Bruce Frack?
Yes.
Joe Montanari?
Yes.
Carl Edwards?
Yes.
Gary Baylor?
Yes.
And Dale Houser, yes. Okay, the next there, it would be engineer, you have anything, Stan?
I just mentioned to everybody that dropped off the Global Road Safety Study and the addendum as requested. So that can be reviewed by the board and have a scheduled meeting at an appropriate time.
Okay. Thank you. I guess the next thing we're going to do is go to unfinished business. Trash and recycling contract, residential survey and bid specification discussion. Okay.
So I put together a survey which I circulated to the board with some questions. And before that goes out, I wanted to see if there's any additional questions you'd like me to obtain feedback from residents, gain some more knowledge about this. Or if the questions, and I think Gary had some comments there, about the very end, about priorities. I don't know if maybe the board wanted that further refined, that last question about regarding the next township waste and recycling contract. Please prioritize the following list of considerations in order of importance for your household. And the things I came up with that, of course, can be added to or changed are maintain or lower the cost of waste and recycling with current weekly limits, make the program more equitable for residents, in other words, balancing costs so high waste households pay more than low waste households. What I really meant by that was the purchasing of stickers for extra bags, sort of like we have now, increase ease and frequency of recycling. And what I intended there was like if we could get it, if people wanted it more often. And I know the boys said they were happy with the bi-weekly, but maybe that would be something people would want. And then just asking them about the overall, if there should be improvement in quality and frequency of the overall service. So anything else we want to add on that, or even any of the other questions, if there was something more that you wanted me to sort of gauge. One of the things to consider is, what do we do if the majority of residents say they're satisfied with the limits? Do you know what I mean? Once we do this survey, the contract has a provision to then let the contract proceed for an additional term. And I know Luke and I talked about this. What if the feedback comes that they're happy with it, and we go to a bid and they come in with higher prices? That's the one caveat to this whole getting feedback thing, but I still think it's the right thing to do. I think based on, for the most part, we do get complaints from the higher development areas. Most of the township, the rural section, we may get a missed pickup now and again, or a missed bulk item. That's a problem where it's the first 4 weeks, so people can get confused. But for the most part, the complaints tend to come from the higher density areas, as far as they want more bags, to be able to put more bags out, included with the contract. Just sort of what we've experienced over the past couple of years. So those are the regular calls that we get complaints about. So
I think I know the comment made about the survey questions there in the end. If we can add kind of an example of the sticker per bag, just so then that makes more sense to me, at least for me, then I'd be fine with that.
Such as, and just say that, such as the current stickers.
Because I can interpret that like another way, how the statement is currently that you sent out, so as one, so they have a better understanding what the current sticker system is.
Sticker purchases for extra bags.
Yeah. And I would say that if we get a majority of residents come back and say they're completely happy with the way it is, I mean, I would suggest that we consider doing an extension option. I mean, I think we actually have 2 years extension, right? I'd be shocked if we got that, but if that's what the majority of the residents are, then.
People generally want more, they just don't necessarily want to pay for it.
Right.
The higher cost will come at that. So, it's a yes.
Yes,
You,
your guess, his guess, not my guess, and all the guys that are, all the people that are down in our territory down there, they like it, they do so, and that's it. Majority, that's it, and if they don't, they get it away on their own.
okay.
And that's been brought up a couple times in our system down there.
I have a question also. Is there any reason with the local for the residents, like East Allen does, the option of securing your own trash removal?
I think East Allen has a if I understand it correctly, a completely separate system where everybody's on their own, right? There's no municipal trash pickup whatsoever.
And that was one of my original questions when we talked about this doing the survey is, the initial question was, do we want to continue with a township-wide contract?
I have lived in a municipality that did their own. My personal opinion, that is the worst decision we can make. I've seen so many cons to that. There's trash that ends up on the street for weeks at a time because the individual property will not, pay for the trash hauling. Then it is closely inches closer to the neighbors as time goes on to basically use the neighbors' trash service to collect that. I don't recommend that at all. I thought that was very hazardous from that municipality to do that. To me, you gain a lot of benefits of doing a municipal trash hauling. And typically, from what I knew, people paid, and what we pay from a municipal hauling, it's actually cheaper, I saw, from a municipal hauling. And it's probably because you can do contract, if they bulk it can do, many houses at one time.
Yeah, my comments are, we used to have our own contract garbage years ago. And by doing this is one of the reasons why the township went in this way in the first place. We had one single hauler and the rate did come down. That's number one. Number two, my son where my son goes, he has to have his own contractor, pickup. And it's a lot more expensive than what we have here. So I don't think we're gonna benefit by deviating from what we're doing. I think we should stick with what we're doing.
Could we at least make that a question on the survey? See what people think?
I think it's a great option to see what people think about it. The problem with that though is you're gonna get people who haven't experienced that and haven't experienced the negative effects of it. If you feel you want to put on a survey, I think that's okay. We have to understand the responses that are coming back. A lot of people who live in the township now probably have not lived, Dale, do you remember when they went,
It was 1999.
So obviously the majority of the residents of the township now are not living here in 1999. So they probably haven't experienced that, having an individual trash hauler. But if we're curious what people want to say, I think that's a good idea, Carl, put it on there.
Yeah, put the question on there.
Would it be appropriate to move to add that question to the survey?
Yeah, I can phrase that, Carl, sort of like, would you prefer to privately contract for these services
That would be appropriate, sound like.
instead of, in parentheses, instead of contracting with the township with your own choice of haulers?
I'll tell you another negative effect I forgot about, but you typically then have a trash hauler coming down your road every day of the week, because they're different people have different trash haulers that do it different days.
Well, I think before we do this, we got a group in there to sit down and talk about it. Because they were running a really good business they have running on right now. And it'd be better to have them do that and then have a meeting, broke with the guy and just find out what they want. Or we selling off on that type of thing.
Well, Bruce, I think what the question is here, Eileen is going to be sending out a survey, and then we're gonna review the survey, compile what the survey comes back, and then we sit and talk how we want to decide it's based on the survey. I don't think we really want the contractor to come in and tell us what's what. I think we should send a survey out with the questions and the additional of the one Carl just asked, and send it out to the people, and then let the people forward it back to us, and then we look at it, compile it, see what the results are.
And I think at that point, once we have that, like, all right, they want, let's say they want 10 bags of trash a week. We can also then say to the haulers, hey, what will 10 bags of trash cost in your contract? That we can ask beforehand, before we tailor a bid to something that's not realistic. Anyway, you know, if it comes back $700 a year, it's not gonna work for a lot of people, because a lot of people will want to keep, we get complaints even now about the cost from some people. But,
Let's throw it out there and see if they come up with it. That's what they already do, because I know there's a lot of it that's out there that gets used and a lot that don't get used. In between.
Okay, do we want to make a motion to have Eileen send out this questionnaire? Based on what we just talked about tonight?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make that motion to add the additional questions, that we discussed and then send that out. Are you doing that, we doing that electronically or? Electronically, okay.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, if not, roll call, Bruce Stratton?
Yeah, but, no, we don't wanna do that. I don't wanna do that.
Okay. Joe Montgomery?
Yes.
Carl Edwards?
Yes,
Gary Baylor?
Yes.
And Dale Hassler, yes. Motion carried, 4-1 to send out the questionnaire. And then when the questionnaire comes back, then we'll see what the answers are. Okay. Next thing under unfinished business, Howard Town Road Bridge Replacement Future Options Discussion parameters. Eileen, you want?
okay, yeah, I can take this now. So, at the last virtual meeting, we had a presentation from PennDOT about, the replacement of the Howard Town Road Bridge. And, they agreed to have a meeting with the township, officials who are interested in attending from the board. We advised them we would be limited to 2 supervisors, and then we want the township engineer there and myself. I asked that it be an in-person meeting. They want this, discussion to be handled by a conference call. And then I, because of that too, and sometimes it's difficult to communicate with people on a conference call and involve something like a plan. I thought maybe it would be a good idea if we discuss what do we want to see as the options that they should be looking at for this detour. What are the things that, you know, what is the board feeling, sort of, so we have a consolidated approach with these people, when we do eventually hear from them. I fear that if we don't have sort of a uniform front on this, they're gonna say something like, because I've heard this sometimes before from that, township doesn't know what they want anyway, so then I'll just, and I know we've had experiences with that, we're dealing with PennDOT and other townships. So I guess that's what I'm looking for, is maybe the thing to do is say, these would be our 3 priorities as you design this as our feedback, or something like along those lines. Just a thought. And then again, what I wanted to say here is, it'll be sometime the week of April 26th or May 3rd, this conference call.
Well, I think there was interest from Gerald
Gerald,
and Dale.
yeah.
Yes, I both interested still. Gerald, were you still interested in being in that meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I know I had some comments during that last meeting, but there were more questions. I didn't really have an opinion, either way. I would defer probably to, you know, emergency services, and if anybody else has an opinion from the board.
Well, I know as a start the last time. My concern is mainly for the emergency services, and I personally would like to see the bridge remain at least one lane open and with a traffic signal to allow emergency vehicles and firefighters to be able to get through. We have another concern, our, the lower end, the south of 329, we have mutual aid companies that are pretty close and we get help at the scene quickly. But north of 329, up here in the upper end of the township, our next closest department is up in Lehigh Township, and they of course would be dispatched automatically also. But it's to get the firefighters from the lower end up to staff our vehicles, which half our department actually is down south, lives south of 329. And to get people up there, that's why I'd like to see the bridge remain at least one lane. With the traffic signal to allow us to proceed through. And that is, in my opinion, depend on, and that's basically my comments. I know Gerald wished that, suggested that the bridge be closed altogether. And maybe become quicker, which it possibly can. I look at the road down there, I can't see why they can't build the bridge at the same time, to the other side of this one, and take the turnout, which probably would be the best situation. And then close it down for a couple of days so they can pave everything back in. Because if you drive down that way, I think if you draw a straight line, you can see where a bridge side alongside of that old one would eliminate that turn, but they have their engineers, of course. Anyway, that's my opinion. Anybody else have any comments? Carol, what's your thoughts?
Well, my thought didn't change. The only thing I'm concerned about with is the guy that lives there. He's even, the way he said, he's an EMS man. And, I know it's better to do it all at one time. It makes a much better job. Should we care about it? Not at all. Are we gonna argue about it? Not at all. And here's why. PennDOT's gonna do pretty much what they want, I kind of think. I mean, we have yet to see what he's gonna wanna do. And like Eileen said, and we all know, there's other jobs going on that are gonna interfere with the traffic. So my way of looking at it is get it done. I know it's an inconvenience for your fireman, Dale. I understand that. The problem is, the longer they drag that out, the longer we're gonna deal with it, and who knows what else is gonna happen. And how many times are your people gonna get stuck in traffic because of them trying to operate the way they are? So what I'm gonna say right now is, I'm sticking to what I said. I'd like to see it closed and done. And then I would like to see what the state's gonna say, and then maybe I can, change my mind on the situation, or I gotta see what they say.
Well, first of all, Darrell, it's not, when you say about a fire, it's an inconvenience to our firemen. It's a convenience to the people of the township, because they're the ones that have a problem. We're going there to help the people solve their problem. When we get dispatched, we're going to help somebody have that, we're getting dispatched because someone has a problem, and we're asked to come and help. And it's not that my firemen, I mean, when we have training night or any other night, we're more than happy to go around. I mean, there's nothing to take the long way around. They have to look at the sites and everything else. But it's in a time of emergency where minutes count. That's the whole thing, what I'm looking at, Joe. It's when minutes count, when someone needs our help. And that's why we're here as firefighters and the fire department. It's not a thing of just convenience. It's for emergencies. And that's why I took the position. It's to help the people of this township. And PennDOT's not looking for the people of this township. PennDOT's looking out for PennDOT. I mean, let's face it, Allen Township gave PennDOT a 2.5, maybe more million gift a couple years ago when they got someone else to pay for the whole 329 project. And that was a gift to them. And I just feel that PennDOT should owe the people this township a little help too.
Well, we don't know that they're not going to.
No, we don't, but we have to have a united front whenever we go down to meet with these people. And that's all I'm saying.
Well, I still think we have to listen to what they say.
Yes,
And then we'll decide. I can't change my mind because I could just see the problems it could cause with a one-way road and that guy living in that house. It's not just that guy. When you go through that intersection and certain times of the day, you see the backup of traffic on either side. I mean, either side, north or south side of 329. It's interesting. It's not horrendous like everybody thought it would be, but we don't have all the buildings in yet. Thank God they're gonna do this bridge now, not later. And I can tell you this also, and that's why I gotta wait to see what this gentleman says. If this was Mr. Jangle doing this project and had to pay for the bridge, he'd probably have to put a temporary runaround in. They did it on Willowbrook so they could work on the water line, but the state will not spend that money. So, again, Dale, I'm gonna wait to see what this guy says. We don't need a vote tonight, do we? We don't even know what he's gonna do.
no, we don't know what he's gonna do. But I don't wanna be at this meeting with this guy and have my suggestions going one way and your suggestions going a different way. And the guy's gonna say, you two guys can't even agree, which is apparently can agree. And they're gonna do what they're gonna end up saying, well, we're gonna do what we wanna do, then they're gonna put in a light, they're gonna put in the road with a detour, and that's just gonna be the end of it. And we're not even gonna get up to that.
But Dale, I thought the idea of the 5 people on this board was to have your own opinion.
Well, yes,
So now you're telling me I gotta vote with you.
no, I'm saying let the board vote to see which way they wanna go. And how they're gonna handle this, and then whatever way the board wants to go, that's the way we support. There's a lot of times there's decisions that are made by the board that I don't support, but I go along with it because it's a democracy and that's the way things are. I mean, if we wanna wait till after this meeting, that's fine, I'll wait till after the meeting. And if we can't get to some of these residents because of delay, well, I can honestly say I tried my best. That's all I can tell you. I tried my best. And whatever PennDOT wants to do.
Well, that's why I don't think having a vote is gonna do a bit of good, because we don't know what they want. But I see what you're saying. It's the good old boy thing. So
No, it's not.
I really don't like
It's
the
called
good
a,
old boy crap.
it's called a democracy.
Well,
It's called a democracy.
yeah.
How does the rest of the board feel about this? Do you have any comments?
Whatever the majority of the board, I'm on the board with. I mean, I don't have, like I said, I don't have anything either way. What if, it sounds like these two were okay though with the option, if PennDOT would approve it, it sounds like they probably wouldn't, but, the option of maybe building it to the side. And then that way you can still allow both-way traffic going while they're building, at least doing the majority of the build. Maybe that's our first, you go in there with that first option, if we can all agree on that, and then if you can't, then you talk about the other option.
We would actually have to look at whether there's any right of way available for them to do that option.
Okay. Sounds to me like that would be the most appropriate option though for everybody. I mean, trying to keep the road open at the same time doing it, but, I think that's probably a long shot, but, I mean, if we, sometimes you, reach for the sky and you get the clouds, Does, Bruce or Carl have any opinion?
Bruce, do you have any comments?
I thought at one time too, when we started getting into this in the building here, Daniel, not Daniel, what's the guy's name now? down there, it's running the concrete down. The guy runs the build, the thing down, building down there. Worthless, you know. Does anybody know what the guy's name is? The guy built the building down there for 6, 7 different buildings that they have.
Talking about the general project.
Yeah.
General project, the warehouses.
Daniel, get Mr. Daniel and say, I got a freaking problem, you need to do that. He should have did that before, him and I talked about that, he said he was gonna take care of things with vehicles and things like that, and that was gonna happen. Just give him a call and see if he's gonna do it, see if he can do it.
I don't think, those plans are already approved and.
He's not involved, Bruce, in PennDOT fixing the bridge.
But you gotta try, you know, you get, somebody busts somebody else's stuff and everything else like that. As far as I'm concerned, if the guy's got that, he should put the cost bill and we do the fire company was there and this was there, all this other stuff there. Not then, it's let him get in there and find out what we could do.
One other option, actually, you kind of, help me remember something from that. Another option we might be able to explore, and Jandal actually did have a part in that, is the extension of Savage Road. And I know we did talk about that in the past, possibly using that area as a bypass if we ever had to close down that road, that bridge. Now, I know the shape it is now, there's no way to get close, you can put cars over it, but maybe it might be able to put something down, I don't know. But Jandal did commit, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he did commit to money that they would have spent on the right turning lane to put towards the Savage Road extension if we ever decide to do it.
Yeah, but that's probably pie in the sky for this bridge project. I mean, that requires getting some right of way and some other stuff, which would take some time. But is there a way, and maybe Stan knows someone if there's an answer to this, but is there a way to go around the bridge through the Jandal project? Could you detour through the Jandal project to get around the construction for emergency providers?
No, you'd have to put a temporary runaround in. That would be on his property.
Right.
And I don't think he'd care if PennDOT pays for the whole thing, but I'm sure I wouldn't even ask the guy to pay for it. I wouldn't even think of that.
No, I wasn't suggesting that he pay for it. I was asking if it was physically possible.
Yes, it is. That's what I said I would do. I would, if it was me, if it was me running this state job, I would put a temporary runaround in. They do it a lot of places. But the state is not like contractors, like you see Rockefeller or anyone else, Jandal, anybody like that. They don't wanna, state will not do it. They live by their excuse of budget. I don't know what they do with all the money, but that's the excuse. So we're not gonna get a temporary, I can't see it. Although that's one of the things I was gonna ask him if he could do. Cause it'd be a low limit weight temporary go around, more for cars and pickup trucks than anything. And that's what it is almost now anyway.
What if we would ask Jandal if we did it just for emergency responders? Would that satisfy your concern, Dale? If it was not open to the public, if we would actually say, okay, close the road, but if Jandal would agree, and it doesn't have to be a paved, but right? I mean, as long as it's
Just a way to get around.
just a way to get around, an unapproved road, just to get around that area, to get to Weaver, back onto Hardtown Road for emergency responders only, and only during an emergency, close the road to the public.
One of the concerns I would have with that would be whether PennDOT would be willing and where they are with that, any stream permits that would be required. Because they would have to put up a temporary culvert or a temporary pipe in order to build that temporary road, and while they're doing the other road. So I'm not sure where they are in that process, and if it's too late to add that to the permit.
You might be able to use the old driveway to the old Sonic house, right? Isn't that right away still technically there?
Still have to get across the creek. That's,
Down and back.
you have to get across the creek. That's the major, that's the whole, and if they have to put a temporary bridge across the creek, they would be better off just trying to build the whole brand new bridge parallel to this one and keep the other one open and then do the tie-in, which, when you stop and look at the grand scheme of things, didn't take that turnout anyway. If you put a bridge parallel to that, you take the turnout.
Well, that's what I think they, well, I don't know how they plan things, but I could care less. Why don't we do this, Dan? So you don't have to worry so much about me not voting your way. Why don't we wait and go see what they say? And I won't say anything to the guy about it again. We will come back here to a meeting and then we will vote on it.
Fine with me. I mean, I
And
won't.
that I can promise
That's
you,
what
I
you
will
say.
not encourage the man to close the road. Tell him here what he said, then we'll come back here and he can overvote me. Then it's fair to me, not the good old boy crap. I don't like it.
No, I don't
If
like,
that's fair, let's do it that way.
there is no such thing as good old boys. It's everybody with an opinion, and there's a board of five, and it's a vote of democracy, and that's the way things work. It's not good old boy. I'm not from the South, I'm from up here. It's a democracy. You vote what you feel is right, anybody votes what anybody feels is right. And that's why there's five people. There's always a majority.
When I said that, that's what I said, that we're gonna work, this is all work. When we're able to make all of that stuff happen for our people and me, your people, and the school, and all that, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. That's what it's not being put there.
Okay, that'll be the plan. We'll just go down and see what he has to say, and I will listen to what he has to say also, Jim.
Fine, I agree.
Okay, is that fine with the board? How's the rest of the board feel?
Fine with me?
All good? Sounds good? Okay,
Thank you, Dan.
you're welcome. Moving on, Willow Green Manhole Rehabilitation Project final payment closeout.
So, Andrew is down to the project, there's still some issues with ceiling, work, that was done in a temporary fashion. It will need to be readjusted, so we will continue to hold this one over. We have one stay there. $1,000, so to do that ceiling. It did not appear when they put down last fall, so they have to come out.
Okay.
So I'll be back with this one.
Okay. Okay, next one, Rockefeller Lot 5 Lease Financial Security Request for commencement of maintenance.
Yes, I'll take that one. Our office did an inspection on March 16th of this year. We found that there are some minor items that really can be completed as they're doing their maintenance anyway. So we recommended on our April 6th letter that the maintenance period can commence, which then allowed them to get the maintenance bond, which they provided to the township. And then they asked us to process a security release, number 2, in the amount of $3,943,400.47, which would relieve the remaining security for performance security of $356,212.37, which would be more than sufficient to handle the remaining items that they have to do.
Stan, question, is that anything on to do with Radar Road also? Does that?
No, this is just lot 5.
Okay. It's Lot 5, okay. But I took a trip off Radar Road today down there, and pretty nice potholes all around there. I don't know.
Yes, and we're trying to convince the Rockefeller and FedEx that they need to do something about that.
Okay.
Sinkhole, I'm guessing, right? Or is it just related to top of?
That's big. Yeah.
Well, there's a sinkhole, and then there's some damage that the gas company did on Radar Road. our drive's got some problems too.
So I'll go ahead and, make a motion that we authorize the security release to the Rockefeller Group for lot 5 in the amount of $3,943,447.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, if not, we'll have a roll call on this. Bruce Frack?
Yes.
Joe Monteri?
Yes.
Carl Edwards?
Yes,
Gary Taylor?
Yes.
Dale Hassler? Yes. Okay, we're gonna move on to new business.
And we should probably also formalize whether we want to go into allow them to commence the maintenance period. For my.
Yeah, I think Stan's suggestion was the maintenance period starts March,
16.
when you did your inspection, right, March 16th, so we can track the 18 months.
Can we, even though we're ahead of that date, we can commence it in the past?
Yeah, we can start at one, but it was based on Stan's inspection when he said everything was done, so we can start at March 16th.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the maintenance period for the Rockefeller Lot 5, to start on March 16th, 2021.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to start the maintenance period of March 16th, 2021, effective March 16th, 2021. Any questions? If not, Bruce Frack?
Yes.
Joe Monteri?
Yes.
Carl Edwards?
yes,
Gary Taylor?
Yes.
And Dale Hassler, yes. Okay, now we're going to new business. Wilbur Farms Mass Gathering Event, June 5th, 2021.
Okay, the Willowbrook Farms people have applied for a mass gathering permit application under our ordinance. They are looking to host a rodeo event on June 5th, 2021 at the farm. The event will include bull riding, bronc riding, open and barrel racing, start at 5 p.m. The reason that they have to apply for this permit is they anticipate an assemblage of over 150 people. Which is what is required in the ordinance. Made this request.
Do we have any issues with them when they had it the past 2 times?
Oh, one time I know it rained cats and dogs, and that didn't go well. We've never had an issue that I'm aware of, Joe. They had a pretty orderly operation.
You're saying you haven't had it before? They had one there on about 3-4 years ago.
No, she said there haven't been any problems.
No problem.
When they held it, there haven't been any problems.
They had previous events in operations, everybody fine.
So, in other words, you were gonna allow them to go in, okay, I'm sorry, okay, I'm gonna look at that. Okay, but I know it was in there, it was in, matter of fact, 2 or 3 times in that area. And I know they go in on it and stuff.
I'd like to comment on this issue if I could. I'd like to say that this organization, and every organization that wants to hold a mass gathering, families that want to get together, businesses that want to reopen, there is no constitution, no charter, no law, no ordinance, nothing passed by legislature that gives the government the right to close things down. It's pure, absolute, unadulterated usurpation. It is undisguised usurpation. And so I would say, go ahead, anybody who wants to hold a recreational event or a get together or whatever, go ahead and do it. And if a law enforcement officer comes to close you down, say to the law enforcement officer, respectfully, what law are you enforcing? And if he says the governor's mandate, tell him to do you a favor and ask the governor to stick that mandate where only a proctologist can find it.
Well, Carl, if you wanna do all of that, this is kinda serious, why don't you make a motion to let them have their mass gathering?
I will so move.
That is, there.
I'll second it, but I just wanna, so Carl, so for this particularly, from the township perspective, we really just wanna make sure they have like the proper sanitation, the garbage receptacles, that, you know, they're gonna handle the traffic. I mean, I didn't think anything about like the COVID or anything like that on this. This was really,
I just had to get on the soapbox.
no problem. Yeah, I second your motion.
Calm down, Carl, we'll be all right.
Okay, we had a motion and a second to allow mass gathering at the Holbrook Farms for the rodeo on June 5th. Any questions? If not, roll call. Bruce Frack?
Yes.
Joe Moneri?
Yes.
Carl Edwards?
Yes,
Gary Gaylor?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, resolution 2021-10, pecuniary price adjustment.
So this, is a type of resolution, that I will add as an addendum to our current, bid advertisement, that we have solicited for in-place paving. And the reason for this is because we are anticipating, an asphalt amount to be over 100 tons. So we will want to seek the adjustment.
Okay. So what we're gonna need is a resolution motion to pass resolution 2021-10 for the price adjustment.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Okay, we have a second by Carl. I'm not sorry, by Gerald. Any questions on this? I guess this is due to the oil price increase.
That and, I work with a PennDOT Municipal Services representative and, because we'll be using liquid fuels for part of this work, our state allotment fund. So what happens is we prepare a scope of project that he has to approve. And when he looks over those amounts, because we're gonna spend the liquid fuels money, from our state allotment, potentially, maybe we'll choose not to do any of these roads. But when there's a potential for us to go over this certain amount and we use that funding, then you do the adjustment.
Okay.
It's
All
what
right.
it should be.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll have a roll call since that was a question. Bruce Frack?
Well, better hurry up with the natural gas because our president of the thing is shutting everything down on the north side. But anyhow, that's it. Yes, go ahead.
Joe Montanari?
Yes.
Carl Edwards?
yes,
Gary Gaylor?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, the next item, General Watson Development Plan for the Sewer Line License Agreement. Eileen, I think.
Yeah, I think we don't have the.
I do not have, but we were anticipating having a document for you to approve, but we did not get it, so if we could table it, that would be good.
Okay, we'll table that. Does anybody have anything else? Bruce, I think you had something you wanted to talk about. The pond, yes.
Oh, I did, the town, I did. Said that his men did a real good job on removing all that ice, stones and everything else on the fair, down our airport, down our air, or down there, stuff like that. And he did a real good job of cleaning everything up in that area. Very happy with it. Very happy with it. That's it.
Okay.
Take care of that, you got it.
Does anyone else have any?
Take a long time, microphone.
Yeah.
You that was garage before that home, garage before.
Yeah.
We came back with pickup. Okay, Eileen, you have anything else?
I have nothing else except for, the planning commission meeting will be canceled due to no agenda items for the next.
Okay, the next board of supervisor meeting will be Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. Here again, we're all spaced out 3 nights. Anybody else have any comments on the board on anything?
If not, we'll go, public to be heard one more time. Yes, sir.
I could just say so,
Can you please say, come up,
see, I'll come up there, just gonna probably, explain my point. My name is John Keller, I live in Willow Green. You drove by Willow Green, informed me of this meeting at 6:30. I scrambled to get on your site to find this. And my only comment is, I could not understand a word that was being said. So I scrambled over here to hear what's going on, especially when it comes to the sewer maintenance and manhole project in Willow Green. But it's just a comment, it's a constructive criticism comment that you should speak closer to the microphone. And I know some gentlemen are wearing their masks, and that's understandable, but I couldn't understand what was going on. I could not, and there was an echo. There was an echo in the sound. I don't know if it's my laptop, but it's just a constructive criticism for anybody else who might be listening in or watching on a live stream. I watch my church on YouTube, see, the preacher of Mary Earth, never had a problem with that. I don't know if there's something wrong with your audio system here or what. I'm glad I came just in time, Eileen, just to hear what's going on, what you're gonna do with Willow Green. That's all I wanted to say, just a little constructive criticism, that's all.
Okay, thank you. I guess.
Thank you.
Is listen to the mic, I mean, listen to the tape tomorrow.
Yeah, it's,
Let's see.
yeah. It just bothered me, I said, Mickey couldn't, first we couldn't get on. That was the first part, we couldn't even get on with it.
We had delayed with this, it did start about 5 minutes later, as we could,
And don't believe the t-shirt.
no,
Thank you very
you know,
much.
the TV used to have technical difficulties years ago.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we had tonight.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, I got one more. There's a gentleman, the other day I was taking some stuff off on, in the up by there and everything else. And he claims that, building that they built up in, the new building up there in the hotel, that the water is not running down on the side of the house in there. There's gentlemen that along the, I guess, you know what I'm talking about, the hotel that they just built up there.
He's talking about Kingsville Road.
Township. He was talking, he was asking, you know, if somebody would check on that, and Tom, I don't know, is there a water problem up there? You don't know, you could manage to look, maybe, yeah.
We'll try for that.
Yeah, right.
The rain call.
Okay. So it's good when there's a lot of these fellows, and you want them, and once we run into that stuff once in a while, and that's what we do, we try to get them out.
Excuse me for saying it, but what how you're talking is a prime example of what I just described. I have trouble hearing you in here. Imagine what people listening on a live stream are experiencing. And I know what you're asking, I know it.
Yeah, that's the way.
That's it. Excuse the church.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? If not, I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn. Good night, everyone. I'll put my, I'll have to leave, I want to.